that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Oh, wow!
Look at that.
Duke
Switching
sure
out
is
from-
loud.
Was it loud?
Yeah.
Am I loud?
I think it's just Duke is loud.
He is a loud dude. I sang along to the theme song today. I don't always, but today I sang along to it.
Yeah, a little something special.
Welcome everyone, meaning Ryan, who's the only one here, to Retro Fandango, episode number 204. I'm your host, Kevin, but I might be rebranding. I don't know what's going on. And I'm here with my pal Richard, aka
Hello.
Ramvox. You might have dropped the V. Maybe that's it. We're supposed to be talking about rebranding soon, so I'm interested. But before we get to that, Cartridge Club this month, for the month of April, is playing Zelda Twilight Princess. You can play it on your GameCube. You can play it on your Wii U. You can play it on your PC. You can emulate it if you want. Do whatever you want if you want to play it. And then I got advanced word for next month's game, May. May was selected by a person who donated to the charity stream back in December. And they got to choose what a game of the month for the month of May. And they chose Sewer Shark. Sewer Shark that's available on your Sega CD and on your 3DO.
Is that the game where you push up, down, left, right?
I don't know. I've never played it.
I think I know. It's some kind of, as the name suggested, some kind of vehicle going through the sewers.
It is that, because I saw that with the video.
I believe it's one of those games where, what do they call those? Like the Dragon's Lair kind of games where it's just a video is playing, and then when the prompt comes up, you just push up, down, left, right.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of games. I don't know what kind of game you would call that. I mean, those are what do they call QuickTime events, right?
Before they were called QuickTime events.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Full motion video. There you go.
Twilight Princess is also available on the Wii. Sorry, and yeah, full motion video game. Well, I downloaded it and I will play it on the PC. I got it running in my launch box. I just couldn't. The controller wasn't working, and I said, "Screw this." Is it
available on your modded Wii U?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's a Sega Saturn or Sega CD emulator for the Wii U. There might be.
I thought we were talking about the Zelda game.
Oh yeah. You can totally play that on the Wii U. The Zelda game.
I think that's what Rocket Sauce meant. It's on the Wii.
It's on the Wii.
I don't think Sewer Shark is on the Wii.
No. Sewer Shark might make a good Wii game because it is a light gun game, or not light gun, but on rail shooter is the word I am.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yes. It actually looks pretty fun. They I guess Pam did a video of it sometime last year, and I watched a little bit of her video, and I'm like, you know what, this might actually be legit. She seemed to enjoy it, so might be good. Then the Beat the Bandy, Beat the Duke challenge still going. You still got a few days left to play Super Mario Brothers 2, Ragar, Contra with no continues, and Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the NES to keep up with Duke and the Bandy. And if you beat those games, you get points, and those points mean something. But you got to go check them out on their Discord channel, the Retro Nonsense Discord channel. That's where they're having fun with that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a light gun for the Sega Genesis called the Justifier, and Rocket Sauce is wondering if you can use the Justifier for it. I don't know. I know that might have been the problem I was having with the controller, because I went in there, like the settings, and it said light gun instead of like Sega controller, Sega gamepad, or something like that. But I just looked at it for a split second. I just didn't. I'm like, okay, it's not working. I'll get back to it when I have more time.
Sega CD.
And before we get out of the house cleaning, got to remind everybody that this Sunday, in a couple of days, if you're listening to this, it's already too late. But if you're watching this today or tomorrow, or Sunday, early Sunday, you got to get yourself to Barrie, Ontario, because that is the day, April 24th, at the Eastview Arena in Barrie, Ontario, is the Barrie Game Exchange. Over 200 tables at this event. It's the first one in, I think, 2.5 years, because it's been on delay because of the pandemic. So everybody will be there. Everybody's ready to go. Everybody's ready to sell games and buy games and trade games. Doors open at 11 a.m. at a little bit of a premium, $15 to get in the door at 11 a.m. You get yourself an extra hour before general admission comes in, Gen Pop, as we call it in the biz. And you get to go in there and get some deals, get some not exclusive games, but the harder to find games. You get a jump on the competition. And then the general population, it opens at 12 p.m. and you can get in the door for $10. Every ticket, every entry gets you a draw. Your name is in the draw for a PlayStation 5. And I hear those are hard to come by.
Wouldn't it be something if you actually got a sewer shark with it too?
That would be something. And you could actually play the sewer shark on it. That would be something. So
well, once again, I'm jealous. Everybody's gonna be hanging out except me.
Yeah, we already got the invite to possibly go to Bill's place a little early before the event. So who knows? Who knows what hijinks we will get into? I'm adding stuff to the outline now that I forgot to add earlier. So.
I forgot to check the outline. Yep, you said that stuff. Yep.
I think we're in it now. We can talk about rebranding if you'd like.
Okay, this is all right. I see. You're misspelling apocalypse. Is it Apocalypse? There we go.
I fixed it.
There we go.
Yeah.
I know that game, and I know why you played it.
Okay.
No, the rebranding. Excuse me. I might be getting that itch to put stuff out there again. Of putting some form of content on the internet. So I might be rebranding. That's it.
Why the rebrand?
Well, I might start posting pictures of my miniatures and stuff that I've been painting, because that's pretty much what I do with my free time now. So I might change the name to something in relation to painting or something.
Are you going to change like a new Twitter, new YouTube channel, or just keep the same and change the name?
Probably keep the same, change the name. So if you don't want to see pictures of miniatures, you can stop following right now.
That would be my advice, is to keep the name.
Oh, the name, the Ram Vox is not going anywhere. I'll probably just add something to it.
Sorry,
like Ram Vox paintbrush or something.
I misspoke. I mean, you could change the name, but keep the channel, because I changed, as you know, the blog over from Buried on Mars to Canadian Grooves. And in hindsight, I probably should have just changed the blog over to a new name instead of starting a new blog, because it's hard to get people to switch over to things because they're just not paying attention, right?
Yeah, you just force them to.
Yeah, and then like one day they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you started this new blog. Oh, okay, I'll subscribe to this."
Mm-hmm.
And so far that CanadianGrooves.ca is up to a whopping 13 subscribers. So hold on to your hats. So it'd be nice if I held on to my old subscriber base and just switched it over. But I was really unhappy with that old website. But I really should have just cleaned it up and got rid of what I wanted to get rid of, and then just switched it over. So that's my only piece of advice for anyone that's wishing to rebrand. If you wish to rebrand, go right ahead. change your name, change whatever, but just keep if you can find a way to keep the old like spot where people know that you are and just change over the name.
Right. It's like when a store moves locations and then suddenly you're like, hey,
Exactly.
where'd they go? They're out of
Right.
business? Oh, no,
Right.
they're just around the corner.
Yeah.
But nobody knows.
And nobody gets the message. But if
Yeah.
the store stayed in the same place and just changed the name.
Right. Now they're selling cupcakes instead of records.
That's the perfect analogy right there.
Instagram. I think I did start an Instagram at one point. I don't know how to Instagram.
It's a bit of a pain in the ass. I do the Instagram. I do like the fact that there's always an image tied to everybody's post. So that discourages a lot of like Steven Eider-esque. I went to Walmart and I didn't find anything today. You know, those kind of. Just kidding, Steven. I love you, man. I love you. But you know, it just gets rid of the you know, frivolous posts that I do myself too.
Right. I've really not spent much time looking at Instagram. I signed up for it. I don't remember anything about my account information, and I don't think I ever did anything with it.
Yeah, I have met a few, you know, people out there. Like, there's some people out there they just do Instagram. They don't do anything else, right? Like, you really are limiting yourself when you.
Well, you got to keep up with these new ones, right? Everybody talks about that TikTok thing. I kind of refuse to even acknowledge it, but
yeah. Well, you know, but some people are really like Chris Roberts. He's really good at that TikTok. He's got
like if you know what you're doing, you know,
Yeah.
some people are social media savvy.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for it, but
yeah.
whatever.
Well, when we first started at work, when we first started taking, like, we take a lot of stuff off the internet, right? Throw it on air, like, hey, what's happening out in the social media kind of thing. And when we first started doing it, I don't know, like 10 years ago, it was all YouTube. That was like like everybody was looking at YouTube. And then it gradually moved over to Twitter and a little bit of YouTube. And then Vine started to come about to be a thing, and then that disappeared. And then it was Instagram. Everybody was posting to Instagram. And now TikTok. TikTok is number one. I go in, there's like so many TikTok things to do.
Yeah.
Here you go. You already got a suggestion for your rebranding. The Joy of Painting with Bob Vox.
Well, the joy of painting, I don't know, but I kind of like the Bob Vox.
Bob, pretty good.
If I ever had to go into what do they call that when you're in hiding? The government puts you in hiding.
Witness protection.
Witness protection program. Yeah, I just switched my name to Bob Vox.
Yeah, nobody would know.
Nonetheless, I'll get a mustache.
Okay, so that's the rebranding talk. You good? You got
yeah. Well, I mean, I've attempted to talk about that kind of stuff on here. Nobody cares, and to be honest, there's really not that much to talk about other than saying, "Hey, I painted something."
I think it's great when you post photos of your miniatures and painting them and the progress and all that stuff. I think that's cool. So I like it.
It's neat enough to share a picture. So that's
as long as I like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I can talk about related to painting is yesterday on my way home from work, I stopped into this electronics store nearby because I wanted to get a new light bulb. I went and I was looking at the light bulbs, and then I remembered they had recently, within the past year or so, they added a little toy and hobby section to that store. And so I was thinking, okay, well, let me go peek over at the paints. I was just recently putting varnish on some stuff I painted, and I thought maybe I'll pick up a new can. So I walked over there. Aisle was half empty of all their model kits and everything. Big stickers, tags everywhere. Everything 50% off. Like, ooh, what's going on here? They don't have sales. They don't do that here. You get a sale, maybe you get 5% off, something like that. 50% off. I look around, the whole section, everything they just added for that toy and hobby section is 50% off. They're getting rid of it, which I don't know. I guess they did terrible business with it. I don't know why, but within 1 year to introduce a new thing, take the time to set it all up, and then just clear it all out. Maybe somebody's paying them for the rental space. I don't know. So I picked up some brushes and some sprays and some paints and things for cheap.
Cool.
I was happy.
I got to get back into that. I got my shelf of shame here with all my model kits on it.
You got a lot of model kits. I think I have 3 that I've not finished.
Well, the problem is like
they're fun to buy.
Well, and
that's
well,
the
then
problem.
They disappear. Like it's like, oh, I want to like if you want to get a Batmobile one, you can't buy one right now. They're
you know what? Another hobby shop I was in, they recently brought in a couple of model kits. They got the new Batmobile for that the Batman movie, but they also had the '89 Batmobile, which is still my favorite.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but they're like $40 a pop. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to spend that much because I'm not going to put them anywhere.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick them up, but chances are if I go back, they're gone now.
Yeah. I probably should go to a place called Michael's, and they always have this ongoing sale. It's all, you just go to their website and you find a coupon there for anything in the store for 40% off at regular price.
Nice.
And their model kits are always regular price. And you just go in there and like, all right, I'll take this for 40% off, please.
And I'll stick it on my shelf.
Yep.
That's what you do with them. I can't judge because I bought a Star Trek model kit probably 5 years ago now, and it's still in the box.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm focused on getting rid of this video game crap.
I do notice a few controllers and consoles sitting out there.
Yeah, it's
it's all heading to Barry.
Not this. This is my blue PS2 controller, so that stays. But stuff was out here to test some equipment, and like this one doesn't work. This PlayStation 2 doesn't read discs. And this. Oh, and then I got the Jungle Beats, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat.
Oh, the conga drum one, right?
Yeah. So I need to put these because I got the drums over there, and I want to get rid of those. And then there's just some other stuff that I decided to keep. Like, it's weird. Like, I got these are like, one is going for $60 and the other one's going for $30 or $40. If I bundle them with that drum, I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what to price it at even. But that's my mission tomorrow. So I'm good to get rid of that. But then you come across a game like Juiced 2. And I put it in, I'm like, yeah, this game works. And it's it's one of those, you got the ladies there all scantily clad throughout the game because that was like the Fast and the Furious thing at the time, right? Like this game came out in like 2005 or whatever. But I started playing it. I'm like, this is fun. I might actually keep this game. Is it available on PC? No. And I could do the emulator thing, but it's just handy to have. So that was one game I discovered like that. And then the other one, should we get the game talk? Yeah, why not? I only have one game to talk about. So I finally got around to playing that Apocalypse. And
Willis.
I didn't
starring Bruce Willis.
I didn't play it because of the recent news with Bruce Willis. It really had nothing to do with it. I forgot all about it. And I think I remembered you saying that it was a good game, and I needed something to test out some PlayStation stuff. Like I just needed a game, right? So I put that one in. First, it let me skip cutscenes, so that was nice. So I can just get right into the game.
That is a bonus, yes.
And I just started messing around with it because I had a couple of controllers to test out in that. And so I started playing it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this controller works. I really should turn off the game now and test out another controller. And then I just kept playing it. And I think I played like the first 3 levels in it. And
that game's pretty fun.
Yeah, it does have some issues. Like there are there's some cheapness with like falling off of platforms and that.
Yeah, a little detection of the edge is a little tricky, and I forget about the platforming. I don't know how well he jumped in that game.
It's okay. Like it gives you a lot of, he jumps really far and high, and you can kind of control him in the air, which makes no sense, but video games. So you got a lot of give, if you make a mistake or whatever. The problem, the very frustrating part. I don't know how far you got into the game. Did you play through the whole thing?
No, I think it's one of those games that you pick it up and it's like, this is really fun for the first couple levels.
Yeah.
And then once you hit that point, it's like, I've had enough.
Well, the point I hit was there is this is on the PlayStation 1, by the way, in case anyone cares. The point I got to in it, it's where the ground just starts crumbling underneath your feet, and you have to like kind of find where to go, kind of thing. And it was just really cheap. Like you'd be running and all of a sudden the ground underneath you is gone. It's like, okay, jump, get to a ledge. No, you can't jump because the ground is crumbling, and it just, so you kind of had to remember.
I don't remember.
It's scripted. It's all scripted. So you have to remember where to go. But when you're playing the game for the first time, you don't know where to go.
Right.
And
Right.
you only have so many lives and that. So
But that's one of those games that, based on the first level, you'd say, hey, that's a Metal Jesus hidden gem right there.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's what Metal Jesus would do, right? He plays the first level and then he throws it in the hidden
level.
gem thing. And it's like, Metal Jesus, maybe you should play the whole game because the last half ain't that great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that game was fun. I think I might have mentioned this before, but in that game, there's some music videos playing. Like you'll pass by screens and there's some like rock music playing.
Yep.
The band in that game is called Snot, and
Right.
I met one of the members, the guitar player. In Japan. We were at a Christmas party together. A few
Really?
years back. Yeah, like his son was like in this school I was working at, and I was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you, Mr. Snot. He was a nice guy.
His name was Snot?
No, the band's name was Snot. His name was Mikey something.
Okay, cool.
So you're hanging on to the apocalypse?
No, I immediately went onto the launch box and loaded it up there, and I'm like, yeah, plays fine here. I could sell this game, no problem. It's fine.
And you get nice little one-liners from Bruce Willis.
Yeah. It's very well put together, and the cutscenes in it actually look like a PlayStation 2 game. Like they're very well rendered. It was
they're not bad. And
later game, right? Like it came out like 2000 or something like that. So
the one thing I remember about the cutscenes is they're kind of fast. They don't linger. So it's just kind of like it's only a few seconds. Like, okay, comes out of the sewer or something.
Yeah,
move on.
He actually comes out of the sewer into the ladies' shower, kind of thing.
Yes.
It has a little bit of a Die Hard kind of tongue in cheek humor to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do feel bad for Bruce Willis in real life. He's was it Spacia?
Yeah,
I forget what it is, but he's got a condition where he's basically unable to communicate.
Yeah. Well, you want to know my embarrassing stories? When I first read the headline, right? Bruce Willis suffering from aphasia. I thought that they were saying he was suffering from what Jada Pinkett Smith has with the hair, right? Because he's bald. And I thought, oh, the Onion, you're so funny. And I click on it, I'm like, oh, that's. It was like an immediate like switch, like from that's hilarious. Now
I feel miserable.
Yeah, but Rocket Sauce wants to know if Snot was related to Booger from Revenge of the Nerds.
Quite possibly.
Okay, so
what are we into?
I got yet another accident that I didn't witness this time, but I did hear about. So Sarah
when you said you didn't witness, I thought maybe you were going to say you caused.
No, I don't cause them. I just either witness them or hear them. So years ago, I witnessed a fatal car accident, and that was brutal times. That was a brutal day, and almost had the same. I had a very similar situation yesterday. Sarah and I were out for a walk because I'm I am super fat once again. I've gained all the weight that I lost from
I got
couple
some
years
of that
ago.
too.
I'm up to 120. Oh, 100. I wish 220 pounds. Once again, I'm the biggest I've ever been. Fatty fat. So I got to get back into, working out and going on walks and eating better and all that stuff. So got to be healthy, go out there for a walk and, clear the mind of all the stress and everything like that. And we went out and we walked to 19th line. 19th Avenue. We walked to a street. It's a very long walk. And then on our way back, we were walking along it's like a man-made pond. Like in all of the subdivisions here, they dig into wetlands and that, right? So to compensate for it, they actually make these man-made ponds and that for the Canadian geese and the ducks and that to live. And we were walking along one of that, and we hear like this big smack, and it sounded like have you ever heard like someone like slap a pool noodle on the water?
Yeah. Okay.
Like it sounded like that, but like really bad, like just 10 times more, like slap. And then we just hear this person like moaning in agony, like ah. I'm like, what is that? And Sarah has been sending me videos and articles on serial killers lately, and she's been totally messing with my mind. And at first I thought it was a gunshot. Like, was that a gunshot? And then you hear like someone moaning. I'm like, oh my God, maybe it was coming from the direction of this subdivision. And there's all these homes, and I'm seeing like, windows open on this one house because it was a little bit of a warm day. And I'm like, oh, maybe it's coming from that house. So we're walking around this pond. I'm like, maybe we should just, hang a left here and see if like everybody's okay. So we come around. Don't see anything in any of the houses or anything like that. Don't hear like she was the person was moaning for a bit, but we don't hear anything. So there's a bit of a shortcut in the subdivision, and I said, well, let's just go back up to the street and walk back home, because we didn't hear anything. So we come up to the street, and right there at the street there was a woman lying in the middle of the road.
Oh.
And there was a guy on the phone. And she was hit. She was a pedestrian, and she was hit by a car, and the car didn't stay, just hit her and drove off. So this guy, that saw it, he pulled off and he was on the phone. And then there was another woman that was there, and she was trying to get the phone number out of the woman for her. Like the woman was able to talk, and she's like trying to get her daughter's phone number, to call somebody, because the other guy was already on the phone to 911. So we're standing there like, man, I don't know what to do. We didn't really see anything. So this other woman came out of her house, and she brought like a recycle bin container to put on the road to get people to drive around, because people were still like, this was kind of a little bit at the end of primetime driving there. What's that called? Rush hour. And people were coming home, and people just whipped down that street because, they're trying to get home. They're thinking about making supper and picking up the kids and all that stuff. So she put out these things, and people were still not, like, they were slowing down a little bit, but not a lot. So then I went out on the street, and like every time someone would come around the corner, I'd like wave at them to slow down a little bit. But yeah, it turns out that she was kind of at an intersection. And I'm guessing that somebody was on the side road pulling onto this main road, making a left onto the main road. And of course, what do you do when you're making a left? You're looking, at the oncoming traffic to see if anybody's coming, right? But they don't look they're not looking the other way. They're looking this way to make sure that, like, they'll look that way, okay, nobody there, and then they're looking this way to make sure nobody's coming.
They're looking to see that they don't get hit.
Right. And come around and probably hit, just hit her. So she wasn't hit too bad, because the car was just pulling out from the side road. If she was hit by somebody on the main drag, she would have been, probably more severely injured. Probably the smack on the pavement probably did more than her actually getting hit by the car.
Right.
But we just kind of stayed there until the professionals arrived. They arrived very quick. They were in there within minutes, and there was nothing we could do, so we just left. But always an adventure when we go out.
I don't know. I can't say that I've seen a single car accident since I've been here.
Well, that's not even the only one like we've seen like out walking. We were out walking a couple of years ago. I don't think I ever talked about it because it's really not that significant. But we came around. We were walking out. There's like a bunch of trails and that, and we're coming off the trails on walking onto the main drag, and there was somebody got into a fender bender right on the street, but their car was the one car that was hit. They were on the railroad tracks. And again, this was at rush hour, and the commuter train was heading towards north of us, right? The train was stuck on the tracks heading north, and the train was coming north. So not only were we trying to get 911, but we were trying to get somebody at the GO, that's what it's called here, the GO train service, to not send a train up that way because there's a car on the tracks. But again, before we got there, the fire and ambulance arrived. So you just let the professionals take care of it at that point. So I think they ended up just pushing the car off the road with the truck because the car wasn't like able to move. Right, it was kind of locked in there. So wish it kind of hung around for that. Just watch that. That would have been fun. But
it kind of reminds me of something I saw years ago. Not an accident, but just an example of stupidity. There was an ambulance that had taken on, passenger, a person in need. I don't know the right word. Right
patient.
Now. Patient. Thank
patient.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. But it was in front of a railroad crossing, and the poles were down. Train was coming by, but the ambulance is right there, waiting to go across as soon as it can. It's whistling. Mm-hmm. The lights are going and everything. And as the ambulance is waiting, there's like another small road, like right along the edge of the train, and another car moves itself in front of the ambulance because there was space there. Just so it was like, well, yeah, you're not close enough. I'm going to go first. It's like, can you not see that the ambulance is treating a patient right now? This is an emergency. Just some stupidity.
Yeah, some people are they're just in their own world, man. They're not aware of what's happening around them. They're just focused on their thing, and that's it. Look at this. Sauce is trying to shed his winter weight as well. You and me, buddy. We'll do it. We'll make it maybe we should start a CC weight loss club.
Yeah, I'll join that one. I don't know. I never had too much of an issue with it before, but the past couple of years, ever since I hit 40, it's like, whoa, this stuff piles on a lot faster, a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it gets harder to shed it, too, the older you get, you know?
Yeah, I got to start walking around. I got to get a bicycle again and just start going around.
Well, I would get a bike, but around here, it's all old men that bike, and I'm not ready to make that
step.
Well. Every time. No, I'm not old yet. I'm middle-aged. There's a huge difference. Oh, what's this here? We get the llama here. When Kevin is walking, run into the closest building. Lesson learned. Bad things happen when he's around. Sarah, she likes it. She thinks it's an adventure with me. So there you go.
Oh, watch out at the Barry Game Exchange.
But it's just weird. Like she's just been pumping my head full of.
Well, yeah. What is she telling you about serial killers for?
So on YouTube, I was recommended this video, and the YouTube recommended, and it was an interrogation video. The cops were interrogating this person, right? Mm-hmm. And I watched it, and I thought, wow, that was really interesting. Just to watch how the cops, did their interrogation of this. I think it was someone who was trying to cover up murder. They were trying to get a confession out of them, and it was really interesting. And Sarah's like, wow, if you think that's interesting, watch this channel, watch that channel, watch this channel. So now I'm watching channels with serial killers that are, being interrogated by the police and psychopaths and psychotics and people with bipolar disorders and all that. And it's like, oh my God, this is getting a little too much. And then, so a lot of them, I don't know if these channels are Canadian or what, but a lot of them are like serial killers that happen, like stuff happening around here. Like there was this woman in Tweed, Ontario, which is like a little small town out in the middle of nowhere, and this Canadian colonel, just she would leave her doors unlocked because she lived in Tweed, Ontario, and this guy just goes in and rapes her and takes her to his cottage and kills her at her cottage. And I'm like, now I'm paranoid, because I'm thinking I'm pretty safe here in Stouffville. It's pretty, not a lot of crime in that, but that can happen in Tweed. That can happen anywhere. So my neighbor, one of my neighbors, when I leave for work, he's always walking on the street. Like there's a guy that just walks. He walks down the street. I see him every day.
He's losing weight.
But now I'm thinking he's casing the joint. Like maybe he's waiting for me to leave and he's going to bust in on Sarah. So now I'm like super paranoid, and I, make sure to leave. Like I would always turn off the light because I'm cheap. I could walk in the dark for a little bit, but now I leave that light on just in case, just to deter him in case he decides to. I'm paranoid now.
You think about that stuff too much. Do you lock your doors generally?
I do now. I didn't. We left everything open. I didn't care. Someone wants to steal my old Honda, you go right ahead. You go ahead, steal that piece of crap, and I'll go collect the insurance money and get something new. But now, no, man, it's creepy, scary stuff.
It's taken me a long time to leave my door unlocked, because where I grew up, you always locked your door.
Yeah, well, you're from New Jersey, man. If I lived in New Jersey, I'd walk out with a suit of armor and hope for the best.
But yeah, I just prefer to lock the door. Just, sometimes I guess it's kind of the culture with some of the older generations around here. Sometimes people come to the house and they just open the door. Like they're just ding dong, open the door, and they're just like, "Hey, anybody here?" Yeah, it's like, "I don't know you. Why are you in here?"
Yeah.
Oh well, I saw a bottle in the road. Is that your bottle? They got something trivial to talk about. But
I saw a bottle in the road.
I don't know.
Yeah, there are I do have some neighbors that you can tell they're just like that. Like they're the kind of people that like people honk their horn when they drive by their house. To say hi. Like they'll honk.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I'm here. I'm out on the street. I'm recognizing it. It's like I would hate that if people were doing that in front of my house all day.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope I don't give the neighbors the creeps, because sometimes I walk around here at night.
Well, I can't.
It's nice out.
See, this is the other thing too. Is I wanted to go. We went after supper. I get home at like 2:30 in the afternoon, but I can't go out walking at that time because that's when all the schools let out. And I don't want to be. I don't want it to seem like I'm some sort of creepy pervert, So I'm like, and there is absolutely no direction I can walk without running into a school. It doesn't like they are totally surrounded. When they're out, they're like all the kids are out and that, and I'm like, I'm gonna seem like a pervert. So I can't. I gotta wait until after supper to go take a walk.
Well, you got no way to win. You walk around when there's other people around, then you're like creepy pervert. You walk around when nobody's around, you're casing the joint. It's like,
yeah, that's right. Well, I'd rather be thought of casing the joint than a pedophile. I could be doing anything, if I'm casing the joint. I might be just looking to rob the place, You never know. But pedophile, there's only one thing you're after. So there you go. There's a pedophile humor for the day. Speaking of pedophile humor, I want to say rest in peace, Gilbert Godfrey. Because
poor guy.
Yeah. I was kind of taken aback. I knew he had some sort of illness, but it was one of those stories where it seemed like he beat it, kind of thing. He had years ago, he had cancer, and he beat it, and then they said he died from a long suffering illness. But I just wanted to, I remember as a kid, like he was always the funny guy in the movies, the guy in the movies with the funny voice, like in the Beverly Hills Cop and
Problem Child.
That's the other movie I'm thinking of. And then he was on an episode of Married with Children. And I remember now my memory, probably should have went back and looked at the appearance, but I remember the episode wasn't that great. It was Peg and what's his name? Al. Thank you. Peg and Al and Marcy and her husband.
Steve or Jefferson?
Jefferson. They went on a cruise. They went on a Caribbean cruise. And of course, the boat sinks, right? So the joke
I
was is that
remember
there's
this one.
yeah. So the joke is it's those two that are stuck on a boat with, of course, an extremely large woman because Al needs someone to play off of, and Gilbert Godfrey as their entertainment.
Is
And
is he playing himself
he's
or
playing
some character?
himself. He's playing
Okay.
himself, and he's totally like just making fun of himself, like his voice and how annoying he is and all that. And not only that, I don't know if he does this in a show or anything, but he brought props to do like prop humor just to amp it. And he brought these he was like, I was in the cafeteria and I grabbed something to entertain you guys on the ship. So I grabbed like these two big serving trays, those plastic serving trays that the waitress puts drinks on, right, to serve to you. Instead of grabbing like food or something like that, that's what he grabs. And he just does prop comedy for like a minute, and he kills. It was that was the first time I recognized him as somebody who was like legit funny. And then of course he was on the Howard Stern show a lot back in the day. There's this clip going around YouTube of his appearance. One, like, he used to be a regular on Hollywood Squares. And one of the infamous moments he had on Hollywood Squares was he was, if you know anything about that show, it's like tic-tac-toe with the Hollywood Squares. And, you got to get a line across or an up and down or whatever. And then if nobody can win, it's the person who can get the fifth square, right? You got like 4 and 4 or something like that. I don't know. You got to get 5 squares, right? If nobody can win, the person who can get that last square wins. And he was the last square. And there's something where the celebrity can either trick you or give you the correct answer, right? Like, you got to answer a trivia question in order to get the square. And he decided to trick these two people every step of the way, right? And they just kept agreeing with him because what he was saying when he would answer these things, it sounded convincing. And he just kept tricking them, and the round just went on and on and on. It went on for like 10 minutes or something like that. It's a pretty funny video. But I gotta say, when he was on the Howard Stern show, they would keep him like, they would do an interview with him, and then he was one of the few comics who would have the privilege of being able to stay later for the entirety of Robin's News, which was like the last hour of the show, where Robin would just talk about news stories and Howard would comment on them. And he would be allowed to stay there, and he would do that for an entire hour. He would just riff on Robin and the show and just making Artie Lang, piss himself laughing. He was always funny on that show. So, and yes, he was the parrot in Aladdin. I think a movie I watched once.
Well, he did a lot of voice work. He got a lot of use out of that.
Yeah,
voice.
well, he was the Affleck duck too, right?
Was he?
Yeah.
Poor guy. He wasn't even that far up there. What was he, in his 60s?
He was 67, I believe.
Okay.
If I remember right. Yeah, there you go. Lama says we lost the genie and the parrot from Aladdin. Yeah. There you go. So that's it. That's all I want to say about Gilbert Godfrey. Rest in peace.
It hurts, though. Norm Macdonald and Gilbert Godfrey.
I was looking at my DVDs there, putting stuff away the other day, and I passed by Dirty Work, and I pulled it out and I looked at it, and somehow in that movie, Chris Farley's gone, Norm Macdonald's gone, Bob Saget, the director's gone.
Oh, right. Yeah. Bob Saget just died recently.
Somehow Artie Lang is still alive. he was the guy that they were all worried about, that was doing too many drugs and was going to go God. Like Chris Farley.
Oh, but he looks terrible. He just looks awful. Yeah.
Well, his nose is all messed up from snorting heroin, which apparently is not a good thing to do. It's not ideal.
On the Howard Stern and comedian topic there, a while back I was listening to some clips. I think it was like Bob Odenkirk was on doing something, and he was talking about Chris Farley and like the last time he saw him, and I got into like a rabbit hole of watching all these videos of people talking about the last time they saw Chris Farley. And part of that is a couple of them, I think it was like Chris Rock mentioned it, Bob Odenkirk. They all say that famous SNL sketch of Chris Farley doing the Chippendale dance with Patrick Swayze. Like every one of them, that's like an infamously like famous, like, wow, that's one of the funniest sketches on Saturday Night Live. But they all say they can't watch it because knowing Chris Farley personally, they knew how uncomfortable he was, how self-conscious he was about his weight and everything. And then they always felt bad for him that skit got so big, but it was all about him being like self-conscious and really being very uncomfortable with the whole thing. And the idea that people were laughing at him because of how he looked and how it's just like it taints that skit.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And really it gets played a lot because it's a great visual gag. So if you need to go to break or have something in the background to talk about while you're talking about Chris Farley, it's just a great visual gag. You don't need the music, you don't need anything, you just play it in the background. Really, to me, his best skit, his brilliant stuff was of course the I remember remember when
you were in there.
Like,
yeah, that was awesome.
and that has totally become Hollywood today. Everything is like, hey, remember when,
Yeah. Well, that was comedic timing and the absurdity of the situation and all that. Whereas the Chippendale one is just, look, fat guy dancing,
Yeah.
So
There's
I
also
kind of
like,
get it. I mean, I still think that's a hilarious sketch, but I can see it from that other side as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. You want to talk about Firefly?
Yeah, I watched Firefly.
Did you
I
watch the
finally
whole
finished
thing?
it. I watched the whole one season.
Yeah.
I didn't get to the movie yet. I know that there's a follow-up movie, but I started. I watched the first episode before Christmas. That's how long ago I started this show.
Oh my
And
goodness. There's only 13
it
episodes.
was like 13, 14 episodes. Yeah. But I watched the first episode and I was scratching my head a bit. I was like, because I didn't know anything about this show other than people said it was really good. And it was like this cult status show that got canceled too early. I started watching them. I'm kind of like, I felt a little lost in the first episode. Like, because I wasn't expecting a show that didn't spell everything out. They start with, it's like a war and everyone's wearing Starship Trooper uniforms and they're shooting things and everything. And then it turns into this like Wild West and sci-fi thing. And like, I was feeling like, did I miss something? And I realized, oh no, the show is just telling a story without spelling every little detail out for me. I was like, oh, okay, this is a smart show. So after that first episode, I knew, all right, there's something really smart going on here. This show is well put together. It's very well thought out. So I'm going to take my time to watch this. I don't want to rush through it. I'm going to wait a week or so between each episode. And sometimes it ended up being 2 weeks or whatever. But I forced myself to wait it out. And then I just watched episode to episode and thoroughly enjoyed it. I had no idea what I was getting in for, but I was very surprised at just how much I enjoyed that show.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate that it's a Josh Whedon show, because I think I hate everything else that guy's done other than peppering in some lines in the Avengers movies. But
he has a certain comedic style that he likes. I mean, in terms of how the shows are structured and how they quite often make you think they're going to do one thing, but then they go another direction. The way that he structures the stories is very well done. But yeah, the forced comedy kind of creeps in. And I think for Firefly, it's a lot better than stuff like the Avengers or those Buffy shows and stuff where he keeps it in check.
Yeah.
for the most part. There's occasionally, like in the very last episode, that I just watched. Like there was one line like that. The whole episode's like going great. I'm totally into it. And then there's one of those forced humor lines that one of the characters asks somebody, "Are you Alliance?" Because that was like the enemy, the Alliance. And then he says, "Am I a lion?"
Oh my God.
No. I said, "Are you Alliance?" Because I do have a mighty roar. And it's like it totally breaks the moment. Like, so that show is like 98% perfect.
Yeah.
And you have those little things. The only other thing I'll criticize it for is some questionable sound design. They got these like Wild West guns, but they're sci-fi guns, so it looks big and heavy and bulky, but then when they shoot it, it goes like pew, pew. Or like they're playing pool in one scene, but instead of it sounding like a pool cue, it goes like beep, beep. It has like weird little sci-fi noises sometimes. I don't know. It didn't quite match up. I really like the characters. I like the story. I even like the fact that the show is a little bit cheap looking and that you could tell they didn't have a lot of money. It's not cheap in a bad way. It's cheap in the studio didn't give us a ton of money, but we are really going to push it. We're going to tell the best story we can. And it was great. I love the world that they set up. The characters are great. Yeah. Totally enjoyed it.
Oh, you should check out the movie too.
I will. I'm just
there's nothing after that, unfortunately.
I kind of like that though, because it means that it never had a chance to get ruined, and it's digestible. I could go back and watch a season of this in a movie and feel like, great, I got my little fix on that universe. Let me go watch something else that doesn't require 10 seasons of going through it.
Yeah. Well, I think the characters needed some sort of building. Like they were building these characters up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were not fully developed at the beginning.
They were developed enough that you really enjoyed spending time with them. It's just you can tell that they had
like
plans.
Room to grow.
Yeah.
They had room to grow.
They had a lot of room to grow.
All that stuff, and you were like, oh, okay, let's go. I like these people. I want to spend some time with them, and it's not like it's not like Star Trek Next Generation where it was done after season 7, and they just keep cranking them out for some reason. And you should have just let that show die, let that whole thing die. But anyways, they're all coming back next year just for you, right?
Yeah. I'm sure they're all going to be. What a kick in the head that must be to the main cast of that show. You guys are working. Let's bring everybody else back.
It's like when it's like they'll get it'll be like a band. Like a band will get this new lineup, and I got all these new musicians and everything like that. And then, but everybody just wants the old classic lineup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they get a ton of money to do. Hey, if you guys get back together with the old band, we'll be able to tour. And the new band is just gone. Like the new members of the band are gone. It's like the Enterprise finale. Oh, I don't even remember what happened at the last episode of Enterprise. I don't know if I watched it.
That's when Riker and Troy took over.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah, that's a terrible ending. And then here comes Archer. He's going to give the big speech. Yeah. Cut. I've seen this before.
Yeah, who wants to see that? Yeah. No, you care more about us. You instead of the show you're watching.
Speaking of Enterprise, Kyle, I blame him for this, but he introduced me to this podcast that two of the Enterprise cast are doing. I think it's called Shuttle Pod.
You can blame everything on Kyle. It's fine.
Yeah. But I see it come up and I listen to it and I was like, it's not great, but
who are the cast members?
I don't know their names.
That's good.
Trip, the engineer,
right,
and Malcolm, the security weapons guy.
Okay. Are they doing anything now? Are those guys acting
They're
at all?
doing a podcast.
They're just doing a podcast.
They're doing a podcast. Yeah.
That's all right.
They have some of the the crew and cast. I haven't listened to all of them, but it's an hour. And it's like, okay.
I'm so far behind on my podcasts.
I was catching up. I just listened to the last 3 Retro Nonsense podcasts because I was falling behind. And I blame Duke for trying to making me feel like I want to make a YouTube video or something again, because he's been talking about how he's getting back into it.
Look at that. You got a lot of people to blame for what's happening in your life.
All other people. I take no blame.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody else.
I wouldn't. That's right. I wonder if people think we're serious when we say stuff like that. Like if people think, oh, they're for reals.
Yeah. But it's motivation, I'll say. He's motivated me. I blame Kyle. I thank Duke.
Oh, look at this. Mike is trying to get me to do a plug for Scotch on the Rocks, which is my friend Deeks. Here he is right here, Scotch on the Rocks. That's his show. He's on the YouTube. Go search Scotch on the Rocks. He had Martin Popoff this week. It was a big time
Popoff?
Big time hard rock, heavy metal writer. He writes books. He's got a lot of books. He's on a lot of shows, internet shows, and that. Really interesting guy. He wrote this new book about Judas Priest. You should go check out that episode. There you go. Synergy. Planned work.
Nice. I also watched the Ace Ventura movies.
I am quite shocked at this because I thought you were not interested in watching any Jim Carrey.
No, I don't really. I have not liked all of the classic Jim Carrey movies that I've seen, and I figured, well, I think I've only seen parts of Ace Ventura, and it showed up on Netflix. So I'm like, all right, why not? Let's watch the whole thing. And I watched the first one, and my opinion didn't really change. I was like, okay, it's Jim Carrey being loud and doing stuff. And then I watched the second one, and that one I had a hard time focusing on because that one was pretty dull.
Mike doesn't agree with you.
He does not agree with me, but yeah, that second one was, hey, we made a lot of money. Quick turnaround sequel. It was 1 year later. You know, they got that sequel out. Yeah.
I'm not. I refuse to go back and watch them. I'm just going to stick with my memories because recently I watched Liar Liar. You know, and that didn't age well in my. So this isn't as good as I remembered it. And then I watched Bruce Almighty. And, that didn't age well. It's not as good as I remembered it. So you know what? When it comes to, I like The Cable Guy. I rewatched that one not too long ago, and I really enjoyed that one. That one it's good because he's over the top in a different way. He's not the crazy zany Jim Carrey. He's like, I don't know. It's different. It's darker, you know?
Yeah, but again, that's I said this when I talked about Ernest. Ernest has heart. He has, you know, a likability to him. The Jim Carrey stuff, he always seems to be irritating. Like, why would anybody want to be around this guy? And that's fine for a premise for a skit. When it's like, oh, you know, you're looking at the regular people who are being annoyed by this guy and they can't escape. It's
you gotta buy into it.
It's you know, Jim Carrey is an extremely talented physical performer. He's very funny. I think if you were hanging out with him, you'd be laughing all day long. But as far as a narrative for a film, Leslie Nielsen did it great in The Naked Gun. You know, it's like it could be ridiculous, it could be over the top, it could be a guy who's kind of a buffoon, but it hits that irritating mark for me. Like, I don't understand why anybody would be around this guy, and why is he intentionally being dumb when he's trying to accomplish something? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Leslie Nielsen was a different type though. He played every scene straight. Right.
Yeah, and that's what I like is the subtlety. And Jim Carrey doesn't have subtlety.
No, he's
over the great. Top. He's great at the cranked up to 11 stuff, but I reach my limit. So
Lama wants to know if you are excited for Sonic 2.
You know, my kids saw that Sonic movie, and I watched it with them, and they watched it a bunch. And I have no problems with that Sonic movie. It's a kids movie. It's perfectly fine. It's not obnoxious. So if my kids watched the Sonic 2, I'd probably watch it with them.
I have no interest in Sonic 1. No interest in Sonic 2. It's just not my. I'm just not interested. I don't care.
I mean, yeah, it's a kids movie. That's all you need to know about it.
Yeah.
You're not going to go in and say, I'm going to sit down and enjoy this. That's what people who make YouTube videos about reacting to movies do. I'm going to watch the Sonic movie because I know Sonic.
Mike says Jim Carrey is a fascinating artist, but I don't know if I'd want to be around him too long. I see him in interviews and stuff like that, and I think he's always funny. He's always, good with Conan. He always had great interviews with Conan, and because Conan allows him to be silly, right?
Well, I mean, you're selling yourself or you're selling a product when you go on there, so you have to do your thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. As for his movies, I don't. Yeah, I guess Sonic. That's all he's been doing lately, right? Are those Sonic movies?
Sure. He does his painting now.
There was a TV show that he was on, and I remember taping it, but we never got around to it, and I think I just ended up deleting it.
So he doesn't need to do anything. Back in the day, he was making like $20 million for a movie. He's fine.
Yep. What about the Wolverine?
I watched the Wolverine.
That's the Wolverine in Japan?
Yes.
All right.
It's called Wolverine Samurai here.
Oh, I think it's just called The Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I think.
Yes, I believe you're right. I was a little let down. I was expecting something better. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't meh.
See, I wasn't expecting much, and I got a little.
Okay. See, I guess because I heard that it was better than the Origins one.
Yeah, I think so.
Technically, yes. It doesn't have the cartoon claws or anything.
Yeah.
But it was also just a little dull. Like just Wolverine running around escorting somebody, and then it's like this family business. Somebody's trying to take over the family.
I'm kind of a sucker for that kind of thing though. Like I like watching superheroes fight just regular dudes. Doesn't always have to be a supervillain that they go up against.
Yeah, I have nothing wrong with that. I think it's just because when I think of Wolverine, I think of the X-Men, and I prefer the Xavier, Magneto. How do we deal with this of our mutants being seen as like a threat, or I prefer that element of the X-Men. So when it's Wolverine by himself, it's just action, do things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Wolverine's perfect is the perfect choice for just an action movie character. But there didn't seem to be a lot of great action. There was a really good, thing on top of the bullet train. He's like holding on with his claws. That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
He gets shot with a bunch of arrows later on that have ropes in them, and he's like, being pulled back. It's fun. But I don't know. It felt a little light. Maybe if this was before they did like the rated R Deadpool and stuff, so it felt a little restrained. He's like cutting people up, but it could have essentially just been punching people. It didn't really matter.
Yeah.
I think X2, the Wolverine cutting people up, was done more effectively. Even though you don't see any blood, it felt a little more visceral in the way it was executed.
Yeah, it does. It does, like the Wolverine always felt a little budget to me. Like it seems like they had a limited budget. It doesn't like there's not a lot of great big grandiose scenes in it or something like that. But I don't like. I remember like watching the opening to Spider-Man, like the 1960s cartoon. Spider-Man, and there's that one part in the opening where he just goes and he's just fighting some dudes in some suits. Like they're just in the gangster suits. And I always thought like that'd be a really fun episode of Spider-Man to see. Like he's just going up against a mob boss and he's fighting dudes in suits.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then the episodes always end up to be like he's in some third dimension and there's like some crazy,
well,
trippy, psychedelic
Batman
stuff
did that
happening.
really well.
Yeah,
Like the animated series, quite
yeah,
often you'd have the supervillains, but sometimes it'd just be a mob boss and something
yeah.
going on.
Well,
And
that's why, like, you know, I always liked Batman. He was always one of my favorites. And then I like the Hulk too, because the Hulk was always just taking on the army. It was just fun to watch him take on the army all the time, right? But like, Wolverine, he's always like fighting, grandiose, huge things. So I don't know. I just kind of found it fun that he went on this kind of side adventure. It didn't really like, you didn't need to see any movie before it. You got,
I thought it was going to go a little more into that. There's one point where he's there and like they say, "Oh, there's a tree in the road," and he starts, chopping. Oh,
so you might,
din.
yeah.
Oh, get that din. There's a tree in the road, and he's like chopping it up. And I thought, okay, they're going to do the thing where Wolverine, because I've seen this in different comics and the cartoon and stuff, where it's like, hey, I'm somewhere where I'm useful, for doing something other than killing people. And, I've kind of got peace here, like nobody knows me. They just, I'm just here helping out. It's like when Rambo is like building roofs in Rambo 3.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on peace here. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to do that, but no, they just immediately go to flashbacks of this is exactly where I was. I was down this hole and stuff. So they didn't really do a whole lot of character stuff. They didn't really have a lot of great action. It was somewhere in the middle.
Well, if I remember correctly, the comforter that the old man is wrapped in at the when he's in that chair, he's all wrapped up in a nice comfy comforter. Sarah and I have a comforter just like that.
Really?
Yep. Fun fact.
Did he have a comforter?
Yeah.
I thought he was just on that weirdo bed.
He was on the weirdo bed, but he was like wrapped up in some blankie. Yeah.
So is this another movie that was shot around the corner from your house?
No.
They just needed a blanket.
I think that one
somebody cased your house and went inside because you leave your doors open.
No, it's not. See, that's the other thing too. Watching those Chucky movies, and they're all shot around here. So Chucky could be anywhere around here. You never know. A Chucky TV show was just shot down the street. So the nice area of town, not in my area of town. So there you go. There's another reason to lock your doors.
Oh, yeah, my door's locked right now. I don't need anybody coming in here.
I was going to complain about Voyager a little bit, but there's not much point. We're running time.
You've done that many times already.
Yeah,
All you gotta do is say the name Voyager, and we hear it. We hear it in your tone.
Well, I asked Curtis because Curtis has been watching the Voyager shows, and I said, "Give me because he rates every episode, I think, out of 5 stars, and the highest he's ever given Voyager, it might be 4 stars. I'm not sure if it's 4 or 5, but the highest rating he's ever given a Voyager episode is 3 stars. So I said, give me a 3-star Voyager episode to watch. And I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was Harry said I wasn't going to complain about it cut it for time, but here I'm going into it now. The episode was they find this robot out in space.
V'ger?
Nope. And B'Elanna Torres is in engineering. Yes. Because you find something weird and strange in outer space. Where are you going to bring this thing on your ship? Where are you going to put it? Where's the safest place? Right beside the core reactor. That's where you bring it in. So bring this thing in, and B'Elanna's like, Janeway, we just found this robot. I think I can fix it. Do you think I should fix it? And Janeway's like, of course, B'Elanna, this is a science vessel. This is what we do. Science is our thing. Fix that robot. So she fixes the robot. Robot comes to life. And turns out that the robot is actually a part of a race of robots. And they're dying. And now that B'Elanna has the power to fix this one robot, the robot's like, well, you can come over here and fix us all. So she's like, okay, well, let me go ask my captain if I can do that. So she goes up to Janeway. Janeway, can I do this? And Janeway's like, no, we got the prime directive. You cannot be fixing things and changing their stuff and going in there and messing around. And I'm like, What happened to the Prime Directive at the beginning of the show? Like, the woman changes her mind on the Prime Directive on a dime. The show makes no sense whatsoever. It was very formulaic. They just took parts from Star Trek: The Next Generation and throw it in there. It's the same.
You can defend parts of that because you find this thing. You say, okay, we'll check it out. After you check it out, then you learn more about it and how is this other world. And then there's more to think about. It's like, oh, okay.
Why would they fix it in the first place? If you have this Prime Directive where you're not allowed to mess with another race, you're not allowed to.
Well, they didn't know it was a race.
They just thought it was some robot. Well,
it
you
could
find
be a
that
robot
out first, find out first.
It could be
before you let's fire her up.
I'd have to see the episode because this doesn't sound familiar at all. I don't think
I can't remember the name of the episode. I think it began with a P. I can't remember. There was no 7 and 9 on it. It was still
early seasons.
Yeah, it was still Neelix's friend there. Yeah. So did not like. It was like okay at best, but it just followed the beats of so many other Star Trek things. You can tell like the writers were just like, let's just crank this stuff out there. Let's not try to think.
So it had nothing to do with the warp core? The robot didn't attack the warp core or anything?
Oh no, yeah, it did. It does. There's some, if I remember correctly, if I'm remembering the right thing, there was some gel in the warp core.
Oh yeah, Voyager has some kind of like bio gel.
Yeah.
Electricity or something.
I might be confusing it with another episode. It was quite a while ago that I watched it. Anyways, I keep meaning to talk to Curtis about it, but we never are able to get together on Bill's show. So I just needed to get that out. Anyways,
there was a moment in Next Generation where Geordi and Data they've got this weird phaser that they found, and they're testing it out right next to the warp core.
That's where you do. That's where you do all your experiments.
All your scientists.
Right beside the warp core, baby. You just get right in there.
Those phasers that you can set to overload and they explode and blow things up.
I mean, that's the safest place to do it, right?
Well, they don't have another set.
No. Or
they really needed to have like an R&D lab somewhere,
Or they only have room for so many other sets. So if they got if they only got space for like 2 or 3 sets and they use them up, it's like, well, we got to reuse some other set for this. There'll be times where it would make sense for Picard to be in the ready room to have this conversation. It doesn't make sense for him to have it here, but they're probably using the ready room area for another part of the show. And
they really needed to have just like a big lab, just like a big open space, have a couple of lights blinking in the background and a big table in the middle. So they could run scanners over things. And wear hazmat suits. Yeah.
No, do it right there. Right there by the
next to the warp core. We gotta shoot another episode tomorrow.
I finished, speaking of science fiction, I finished all the classic Doctor Who episodes. I know people have been keeping track of that, keeping an eye on it, wondering
what constitutes as classic. Is it like the first series?
So the show was originally on from 1963 to 1989.
Originally, wow, that's a long
time. It started in 1963. Its first episode, think about this. The very first episode of Doctor Who aired the day after JFK was assassinated. And the day before the Beatles released their second album. That's how old Doctor Who is.
Okay.
So 63 to 89, the show got canceled by 1989 because it honestly wasn't very good. There was some, it
wasn't very good. It lasted quite a while for not being very good.
This is how good the show was. It was so good that it started like a slow downhill. I'd say after Tom Baker left. So that was like 1982, and the show still lasted on air. It still aired until 1989. So that's how good it was and how much good faith they had that fans were still supporting the show until eventually, there wasn't enough ratings there to justify continuing to make it. They did bring it back for a TV movie in 1996, and that was it received mixed reviews. And then eventually the show came back in 2006, and it's been back on the air since then. So what I did is I went and I watched that old series, the original series. Now I did watch the first 2 Doctors because there's 13 Doctors now, and the Doctor is an alien, and when the Doctor dies, he regenerates, and he regenerates into a new. Basically changes his entire appearance and his personality, but he has all his memories from everything that happens back. And basically they just did that because the original actor who played the Doctor, William Hartnell, was he was getting sick, and he couldn't remember his lines, and that he had some sort of I'm not sure if it was Alzheimer's or dementia or something like that, but he couldn't remember his lines anymore. But the show was so popular that they wanted to keep it going, so that's what they kept. That was the idea that they came up with, was to make him like, so they can replace him with another actor, and it worked. Every time a new actor comes on, it comes with like a completely different personality. But yeah, pretty much Doctor Who in the 80s wasn't that great. The 60s and 70s was definitely worth watching, and then once Tom Baker is done, there's really not much there. There's some highlights here and there, but for the most part, yeah. But I stuck with it just to see what happens. At some point, you're just watching it just to see what they're going to do next, what's going to happen next, even though like a lot of the episodes don't make sense. A lot of the things that happen, like there are shows where it just ends. Like the very last series, they build up towards this battle between 2 characters, and it's the Doctor and another character. In case I spoil it for someone, I don't know why I'm keeping it a secret, but anyways, a Doctor and another character, and the Doctor just kneels before him and basically says, "I don't want to do this anymore," and the episode ends. that was it. It was like, oh, okay. Just no explanation or anything like that.
Well, I mean, they wrapped it up somehow.
Yeah, I guess so. So there you go. If you want to ask me any questions about Doctor Who, just hit me up, and I'll have all the answers for you. Because I've now seen every episode of Doctor Who at least once. So when I went back and rewatched this time, I started at the 3rd Doctor because I watched the first 2 Doctors like 5 years ago. I watched them on Daily Motion. And then I got in on this BritBox thing with my mom. So I was able to carry on from the 3rd Doctor on. So now I'm going back and watching the first 2 Doctors again because it's been a long time. So there you go. Doctor Who. Yep.
Sure.
It's a fun show.
I don't doubt it. I have nothing negative to say about Doctor Who. I'm not avoiding it. I've just never taken the time.
I think you would really like the reboot series. Reboot series is a lot of fun.
I hear a lot of things.
It's not like thinking sci-fi like Star Trek. It's just more like, goofy kind of fun stuff. Although there are some thinking episodes, but for the most part, it's just goofy fun.
Okay, I'm peeking ahead at the outline here, and your next topic. I want you to bite your tongue because I haven't seen it yet.
So you haven't watched the Kim Wexler show yet?
I have not tuned in.
There's 2 episodes out there.
I know, and I saw it coming up. I knew it was coming out, but I had to watch that final episode of Firefly to get that squared away, and then I just didn't have a chance to sit down because I want to sit down nicely and focus 100%, knowing I'm not going to be disturbed.
Well, in case anyone out there is wondering, we're of course talking about Better Call Saul, which has started up again. The first episode is actually the first 2 episodes of the show. It's a big 2.5 hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I mean that was on the PVR with commercials, so it's probably like just over 2 hours.
Well, still, it's a double sized.
Yeah. It's good opening. I want to say one thing. I don't think it's a spoiler, but Sarah and I picked up on something in at least the first episode. And the second episode seemed to taper off a little bit, but in that first episode, there was a lot of mention of gold. And then a lot of the scenes had this either yellow or gold tinge. And then like Jimmy is making up a story, and he's talking about getting a gold plaque, and he pulls out this shirt to wear, and it's gold. There was a lot of gold in the episode. I'm not sure what it meant. I don't know what it meant.
I have faith in the creators of this show. If they put it in there, it's for a reason.
I'm just wondering if maybe it's just a coincidence. Maybe it means nothing. I don't know.
No, there's no coincidences.
No.
They're setting something up.
Oh, and then at the beginning of the show, there's people doing a repo, and they're all dressed in like these yellowish gold outfits too. Like they're, going in and taking stuff out of a house. And then there's a gold toilet that's featured a lot like Trump's toilets. He's got those golden thrones. So there's something with gold. Something happening with gold. Anyway, I just love how that show just lets scenes breathe. They let you to absorb what's going on, and when the show is slow, it's just meant to be slow, and when it's quick, it's just meant to be quick. Like everything is just paced so well. I'm loving. I actually didn't want to start it, because I just kind of want the show to exist forever. I don't want it to end.
Yeah.
But when it's done, hopefully we're done MASH by then, and then I'm thinking about just starting with Breaking Bad and just watching the whole thing all over again.
Yeah, I've had that temptation.
Because I've only seen, all the episodes of Breaking Bad. I've only watched them once. I've never gone back and rewatched them or anything like that. So, yeah, there's just so much TV out there. And it's impossible to get to it all.
I ignore a lot of it.
Yeah. So we watched Sarah and I watched a couple movies. We watched The Adam Project. That is the new Ryan Reynolds film.
I keep seeing something about that. It shows up on Netflix. Is it a Netflix original thing?
Yeah. So it's the same team that did The Free Guy, which I think was on Disney Plus, and then this one is a Netflix movie, but it's pretty much the same team that did both movies. It's like Ryan Reynolds and this writer/director guy. And the Free Guy, I was kind of lukewarm on that movie. It was okay, but it wasn't that great. This movie was a little bit better. And I know if I was 10 years old, I would absolutely love it. What is it even about? So it's about time travel.
Okay.
So basically Ryan Reynolds, he's in the future. He's in this ship. He's being chased by the authorities. Creates this time portal to go back in time. He ends up back in time and meets his younger self. He needs a place to hide, basically, and so he just goes back to his home, right, where he grew up. And his younger self is like 12 years old or whatever, and things get all. It's a story about time, basically. He has to go back further to meet up with his wife. And he meets up with his. It kind of annoyed me a little bit that there was like a spoiler, like how in that Netflix it comes up with that splash screen.
Yeah.
And I go into these movies like I don't know anything. Like I just go in like, okay, people are saying it's a good movie, I'll go check it out. And that splash screen comes up, and a little bit of a spoiler there. Like he's going to run into this one character because you see the character in that splash screen. And I get why they put that guy there, because they wanted the two stars of the movie, I guess, together. But I didn't know the other guy was even in the movie. So, until I saw that splash screen, and I'm like, okay, obviously he's going to run into because he's there,
Yeah, well, you want to tell your story, but you also have to sell the movie. Yeah. So you gotta showcase things.
Well, you already sold the movie.
That still bugs me about Terminator 2. Basically from the trailer, Arnold's the hero.
Right.
But the way it's set up when you watch it plays out where if you didn't know that, you would assume he is the bad guy, and then the Robert Patrick, is his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's taking over the Kyle Reese kind of role. He's wearing a police uniform. They don't show him kill anybody, before that.
Yeah. Well, so much so that like I had not seen or remembered the first movie when the second one came out. So when I watched Terminator 2, because I watched them out of order, I watched Terminator 2, I didn't even know he was a bad guy in the first movie
Yeah.
until they got to the point. I like, at some point in when the guy from the mental institutions talking about the past and how the guy shot up a bunch of people in a nightclub in 1984 kind of thing. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I guess he was a bad guy in that first movie, but yeah. Anyways, it was a little convoluted with the time travel stuff. Like, we're talking about having scenes to breathe and all that. Like I really appreciate that one part in Back to the Future 2, where Doc Brown just goes up to the chalkboard and he does the timeline thing and he explains the thing with Biff and how we started this thing and we got to go back here to this point. If we go forward in from this point, we're just going to end up forward in the same time loop. So we got to go back right to this point. I appreciate all that. And now in like this movie, they can't, it's almost like as if they feel as if they can't afford to do a scene like that because they're going to lose your attention. So instead, it's people yelling while they're shooting, like, oh, we got to go back here and all that, to go do, because it's got to be at this point and all that. And they're shooting and they're, and I'm like, what's going on with the timeline? Like they're losing me, because they're just yelling. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just going to go with it. And, hopefully I'll be able to piece it together later. But I would have really liked that whole sit down explanation of what's going on, it's kind of sad that they seem like they're all way too afraid to do something like that these days.
That's because the people who watch movies nowadays, they spend their free time watching TikTok. It's going to be fast. Well,
I've actually heard on I can't remember what it was, but it was like a showrunner on some show, and they were talking about how they have to keep people's attention. Like they got to make sure that there's like an explosion or someone yelling or something like that.
Yeah.
Every so often to keep people from looking down at their phones while the movie's on. Like they're looking down at the phone and they're missing what's going on. I take that stupid phone and I get away from me. I'm watching.
Yeah, you make movies for people that want to watch movies.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
but
they make
noise
them for the
on
masses
while I'm checking my messages.
Yeah, they make them for the masses, though, right? Like that's.
Yeah, I suppose.
Gonna make everything vanilla. So, I blame people's attention spans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and one more quick thing to talk about. Still watching MASH, and we're already up to the Colonel Potter BJ years.
Did they both start at the same time?
So, McLean Stevens, that was a planned, like he was going to leave, right? And
right. That's the end of one season, right?
Right. They did a whole thing where they, the last episode is all about him leaving the MASH camp, and then he doesn't make it out over the ocean. And everybody's sad, and that's the end of the season. Then they come back next season. Frank Burns is the second in command, is in charge, and they all think that he's going to be given the promotion. He's going to be running the camp. And the first Alan Alda's first buddy there, John McIntyre, Trapper John, is gone.
Right.
Alan Alda went off to Hawkeye went off to Japan or Tokyo or whatever on a leave, and he comes back and Trapper John is just gone. And apparently the actor Wayne Rogers just didn't want to do it anymore. He was just like, I don't want to do this show anymore. And the people who run MASH, who make MASH, the showrunners and that, they were like, no, you can't go anywhere. You're under a contract and you're going to finish out your contract before you go. Well, it turns out that he was able to get out of his contract with a loophole, with the fact that he never signed his contract. He just never signed it. So they had a thing like it was like old fashioned clauses where, the actors had to present and be a certain way in the media and all that. And if there was anything they did that they didn't like, they could cut them at any point. And he didn't like that. So he went to them. He's like, I don't like this part of the contract. I want you to take this out. And they're like, no way. He's like, okay, well, screw it. I won't sign it. So he just didn't sign it. Never told them. So he just got tired of doing the character. He didn't want to do it anymore, and he just left. So the first episode of season 4 is a big 2-parter where they introduce the new characters, Colonel Potter and BJ Honeycutt, and it's like they come in like nothing happened. They're just like right in. They fit right in. Like it's not like nothing happened. There was something happened in the show, but they fit in very smoothly. You can tell with BJ for sure they wanted to have like a carbon copy of Trapper John, just a little more smoother, I think. And,
well, he was different enough. He was a family man, where Trapper John was kind of the, skirt chaser.
Well, Trapper John had a family as well, and
but
they really cut down on the adultery, right? Like the first season,
that was
everybody was banging, like everybody. The tents were rocking everywhere, and then by the third season, McLean Stevens in that first season. Colonel Blake, he had a nurse that lived in his tent with him, right? Meanwhile, he was a married guy with children and all that. By the third season, you never saw him cheat on his wife, not once. And then Trapper John too, they cut it down a bit, like a few episodes here and there, they show him like making out with a nurse or whatever. It was still insinuated, but it wasn't like the first season where they were just constantly like skirt chasing. So yeah, BJ Honeycutt's now there, and he hasn't yet. I mean, we're only like 4 or 5 episodes in, but he's been very faithful to his wife so far. So he hasn't made a move on anyone yet. And even with Hawkeye, they've kind of toned it down a little bit. So I can't remember what else I was going to say. There was something else. Oh, yeah, well, and Sherman Potter, the Harry Morgan character, he's completely different than Henry Blake, which that was a very wise thing to do because they pretty much played out Henry Blake's. Like there was only so much you could do with him. Right?
Yeah, you could do something different with a character with a different perspective. It's kind of like when they brought in Rebecca Howell into Cheers.
Yep.
New direction. What would this character do instead of just show up and recycle the same jokes?
Yes, Bill, we started talking about BJ's just for you. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Like pretty much I'd say Coach and Woody Harrelson on Cheers. They were pretty much a little bit different.
Yeah, they were still, they fulfilled the same role of being the character that's a little bit out of the loop, not quite all there.
Yeah.
Right, where Coach was a bit more senile, but then you got the young Woody who comes in and see BJ's and Woody's.
Right.
Great timing.
Whereas Diane and Rebecca, they were completely different characters.
Yeah.
Did I lose you? You back? All right.
No, I'm here. You did a little robot thing for. Oh, you're frozen. Oh no, there you go.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. All right. No, I actually remember liking BJ Honeycutt a lot more than Trapper John. Maybe because he was just on the show longer.
Yeah, I can see
more time to.
Yeah. I will say that it is kind of surprising. I get why, like, the character, first of all, in the 70s, like everybody was paranoid about being typecast, right? Nobody who worked on television in the 50s or 60s could get a job in the 70s or even 80s unless they were, Lucille Ball doing another show kind of thing, or they completely did, like, they wouldn't do another sitcom. They would do a variety show or something like that. But pretty much like Bob Newhart was rare to have a hit in the 70s and another hit in the 80s. Most actors, they would try. Like, it was actually kind of depressing to watch. Like McLean Stevens, after he left MASH, I went and looked on IMDb and he tried like several different sitcoms and none of them landed. One lasted 1 season, but most of them were like 13 episodes and then off the air kind of thing. But I can kind of see, like, I understand, like, from that point of view where they didn't want to be typecasted. Plus, he only had like 3 networks at the time. There was only so many shows at the time. And if you were seen as one actor, if you were seen like you're Spock, it was really hard for you to get another gig on television because everybody saw you as Spock, especially when you were on syndicated on television during the day. So that's just the way it was. Now it's like there's so much out there that any sort of name recognition you can get to your project, you're going to jump on, right? So you'll take any old actor who has any sort of experience or name recognition. So it's a different beast today. So that's one thing. But the other thing, I'm kind of surprised at how one-dimensional all the characters are on MASH. They really don't have any sort of depth. And not that it's necessarily a bad thing, because the writing on the show is so well done. It's so good that it overcompensates for that. Like it's a very witty show, and there's a lot of things that they could do in this MASH outfit. Some of it's repeated a little bit, but there's a lot of different things and clever things that they come up with so far. I mean, I'm only in the 4th season. I think the show lasted 11, so we'll see if I still feel that way by season 9. But it's a real testament to how well written that show is, where you have characters that really don't have anything other than their one dimension. Even Hawkeye's not really that deep of a character. He's like he's always right. I think there's only been one episode so far where he's been called out for his drinking, and it was another doctor that it wasn't even anyone else in the show, right? It was a special guest by a doctor that comes on and kind of calls him out on his drinking. But Frank Burns is pretty much one dimensional. He's the bad guy, and Radar does his thing, and Klinger dresses
they
in
have one dimensional, but I remember a lot of powerful moments in that show.
That's what I mean. Like the writing is so good, and the situation that the characters are in is so gripping. It's so that the characters can be one dimensional. You don't really need to get into too much character development or anything. I know they get a little bit later on, especially with Hawkeye, because they had to do something. But so far, there's like zero character growth. Like Hawkeye is the exact same person he was in the first episode as he is in season 4. There's no change. Zero. Radar, same character. Klinger, they do more with Klinger.
Yeah.
They
well,
Klinger
Klinger straightens out after Potter shows up, right? He doesn't do the dresses and stuff anymore.
No, it's way later. That's after Radar eventually.
Oh, that's after Radar goes. That's right.
Right. And then
he has to be the new company clerk.
Right. And they're like, well, if you want to be the company clerk, you're gonna have to get out of the dresses. But
and Radar goes through some changes. He has a couple of moments where I remember one episode where he gets really angry at Hawkeye because he sends him out and he gets injured.
He does get frustrated. I haven't got to that one so far, but so far with Radar, it's weird because he'll have character developing moments in an episode, but then by the next
episode he's kind of
just
back,
bounces back.
That's true.
He goes from age 18 to 19 to 21, back to 19 to 18. He's a virgin. He's not a virgin. He's a virgin again. It's kind of. I think the episodes definitely aired out of order, and everything on the DVD is in production order.
Okay,
no, it's in air date order. And the episodes were it's the other way around. Everything is in the way it was originally aired, but stuff was, like I said before, like they would air special episodes for sweeps weeks. So,
it is a different thing watching the shows in order just one after the other, because I'd always watch them on TV. Oh, look, MASH is on. Watch an episode here.
Yep.
Yeah. A couple days later, MASH is on again. And it'd be like completely different season, whatever. You didn't follow it so strictly episode to episode.
And one thing I want to
hear a little snippet here and there.
One thing I want to mention about the DVDs, one cool thing is that you can take out the laugh track.
Really?
If there's one knock about MASH, is that it has this horrible laugh track because the show
it's canned
was
laughter.
Yeah, it was not filmed in front of a studio audience, right? It was filmed on set, and it was filmed
on location, really. Yeah.
On location, California backlot. And actually, when I was a kid, I thought they filmed on location a lot more than what they did. It's I don't know if it's the DVDs and HD TVs now, but you could totally tell like when they're on set a lot because anytime they're on location in that California backlot and they're walking and the ground's uneven and all that, and then at night they always shoot all their scenes at night in the studio. They're never on location for shooting the night scenes, and that ground is just flat cement with sand thrown over it. You can just tell. And then the backdrop looks really cheesy in that, but
yeah, it's a show from the 70s.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it looked fine for everybody's crappy TVs back in the day. I'm not knocking the show. I'm just saying, it's just watching it now is just a completely different experience from watching it as a kid over and over again. But taking out the laugh track, the show has a bit of a different tone to it. It feels a lot more serious. It feels a lot more like a medical drama with comedy in it instead of a comedy with some medical drama in it.
Yeah. Well, as Bill just pointed out, they never used the laugh track when they were in the OR. They wanted to treat that stuff seriously. They didn't want to belittle what was actually going on.
Yeah, well, that was the compromise because the network wanted the laugh track in there because they didn't want the show to be too heavy, but everybody on the show didn't want a laugh track. So that was the compromise, is that they could have the laugh track, but not inside the OR. But most of the show takes place outside of the OR, but it's a lot, like it's weird at times because you could tell the show is paced to have a laugh track in it, right?
Yeah.
Like there are certain pauses and stuff like that where like that's where the laugh track is inserted.
Hawkeye makes a face,
and then you're just getting a reaction from like the other actors or whatever, right? Like, so it's a little oddly paced at times without it, but it still works for the most part. And yeah.
So that's how you're watching it without laugh track?
Yeah, I think, we watched, the first 2 seasons with it in, and then I just forgot that I'm like, oh yeah, you can turn them off. So we watched like the last season with it off, and so far this season with it off. So there you go. That's a reason to get the DVDs right there.
Yeah. And then you probably got about like maybe one more season of Frank Burns before he just disappears.
Yeah, he leaves the show as well. And again, like I understand why he left the show, because they do absolutely nothing with his character. It is
he was pretty much the one. He was just the mild, annoying antagonist,
Yeah. They gave him, like, he's got nothing to do. It's just always just the bad guy. Like there's nothing. Like there's no bit of gray with these characters at all. Maybe with Klinger, what he's doing, trying to get out of the army, and I don't know. It's all black and white. Not that it's bad. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm saying it is good. But like Voyager's the same thing. The characters never progress. They remain the same, except for the Doctor. But it's not a well-written show. So. There you go. Got to throw in my one more dig at Voyager. Richard is starting to prepare for class now.
I just remembered. I have something right here that's relevant.
Do you need me to fill time? Because I could do the wrap up here while you...
If you want, here we go. Here's my autographed picture of...
Oh, no way!
Of Sherman
Harry
Potter.
Morgan?
Yep. I've got...
Wait, show that again. You didn't show it on the big screen. You got a whole bunch of autographs there. I didn't know you collected autographs.
There you go. He addressed it to me. Look at that. To Richard, all the best, Harry Morgan.
Nice.
I have... hang on. Patience, people, patience. Here's BJ.
Mike Farrell.
Mike Farrell, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
To Richard.
You want to see what's on the opposite side of this one?
Yes, I do. You're in trouble now. You're going to jail now.
I've got Loretta Swit.
Look at you, Loretta Swit.
Bill, you still watching? I got Conan.
Oh, now Bill.
Is that a Conan? I got Jamie Farr.
Oh my goodness!
I got Max Weinberg. I do have Andy Richter in here too. Hang on, I got a couple more MASH people. I know I got at least one more.
Okay, let me do the wrap up here while you do that. Don't forget to check out our Discord. If you need, there's all a bunch of stuff happening there. There you go. You got Father Mulcahy.
Who was
What does
always
that
my
say?
favorite character.
What does that say at the bottom? Bill.
Blessings
William
from Father
Christopher.
Mulcahy, Bill Christopher.
Bill Christopher. Okay, I guess you went. Don't forget to check at retro_Fandango. Go check that out. You got the Wrath of Khan.
Ricardo Montalban.
Yeah. Awesome. I hope everybody listening is getting a kick out of these signatures. You got Bruce Campbell.
Yep.
Where you signed the back?
Sign the back. Oh,
I got Bruce Campbell.
Blast my home address in there.
I got it in his book somewhere. Just go grab that.
Oh, I got that right up here. It's on the shelf.
Goodness.
I think that's all my mash. I didn't get. I thought I had a picture of Alan Alda.
Yes, you're getting compliments in the chat here. People are loving it. Look at this. You got a Richard Wow. I don't think you've ever made Bill say wow before.
Wow.
Yeah. With
here's my Andy
2, 3,
Richter.
4. Look at that. How do you forget you have these?
I didn't forget it. Yeah, I know. We were talking about MASH, and I could have sworn I had an Alan Alda, but I don't remember if he signed it or if it was just a picture.
I like how the chat is fighting over who's getting these autographs, like you're giving them away.
Yeah. Yeah, this one. Ray Charles.
Ray Charles? That's awesome. I have Ray Charles albums. You know, he started off as a jazz guy.
Gosh. Let me go through these.
Did I mention the Twitter at retro_Fandango? Go check that out.
Oh, how could I forget this one? Oh, there he is. There's
Nice.
There's on all that. You want to see who's on the other side of this?
Yes, I do. Oh, Jim Varney.
Varney.
Curtis. You better watch the video now. Curtis is running to YouTube right now. Skipping right to the end. Jim Varney. Where did you get all these?
Back in the day, in the early days of the internet, I remember hearing something about like if you write to a celebrity and there were a bunch of like addresses. And they said, write to these places, send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and request an autograph. And it worked a whole bunch. There were a lot of them that didn't work. And it was a bit of money. You had to buy the stamps and the envelopes and send it all out. And you never knew if you were getting anything back. But then I got a few. I got a question. The trick was to write to the people who weren't doing much at the time or were producing lots of autographs at the time.
Poor Conan. How dare you say he wasn't doing much at the time?
No. I mean, that was that was in the early days before he was like super big. But
he's always been super big. What are you talking about?
The other day, when they had more time for things like this, and they would just sit there and real quick.
So, I got a question about the self-addressed envelope. So, because none of those photos look folded, so what would you do? They could send them a big envelope.
Yeah, basically send a small envelope with a folded up larger envelope inside it. And then you got to you self-address it, put the postage on. You got to put extra postage because you don't know how much it's going to cost.
Right.
And then you send it off and say, and the advice was include a little index card. I got some of those in there. Say, hey, big fan, love this work. Was wondering if I can get an autograph. If that's cool. If I've also included a little index card. If if you don't put a photo, you can just sign that card or whatever. And then you wait and maybe you get something back. And I got Art Carney up on the wall here. I got Mr. Rogers on the wall here.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea you were a big autograph collector.
It was something I did for like a year or two way back when, like early 2000s or so. You got to get those celebrities before they die.
Yeah, well, I can only imagine here in Canada, the postage would be like $68 to send an envelope to Loretta Swit in California. So only in America can you get away with that, I think. What's it? It had addresses to get autographs like a postcard. What is he talking about? It had
maybe something like
oh, sorry. I
Here's my
bought a
verse
book
Kindle
like
book.
this in grade school that at a book fair. It had addresses to get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that too.
You got that one too.
Yeah.
You know, I still don't have the soft cover of this. He
That's what I
released the
have.
soft back, and that had like additional content.
Yeah. I got that. I think I got a photo with him.
I got one
there.
too. It's super blurry.
Yeah, mine didn't turn out very well. I think Bill took it, so I'm
He sabotaged your photo.
No, just Bill can't take a very good photo. That's all.
You know what you think of it? It's one of those Sam Raimi action shots. That's what it is.
Yeah. All right, that's it. We did the wrap up. We got very audio centric there at the end by showing all of Richard's autographs. That was mind blowing.
Drive people to the YouTube channel.
It was mind blowing. Mind blowing. Turned out perfect, eh, Bill? Well, I'm gonna definitely have to bust out that photo and shows Bill's photography skills.
Did you in turn take a photo of Bill?
Oh yeah, he has it framed up on his wall because it was such a perfect photo. Like, I know what I'm doing, you know. Yeah. All right. Can't go anywhere but down from here, so we might as well wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching. We had Rocket Sauce and Bill and Mike and the Llama and Scotch on the Rocks. My buddy Deke. That was it. That was enough. That was plenty.
A lot of people showing up.
Yeah. Oh, and Cat Max Gaming, of course. He had chimed in once. So there you go.
Cat Max.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sarah was not watching because I hear her laughing upstairs, so she's definitely watching something else. But thank everybody watching. Okay, that's it. Oh,
Goodbye,
she's yelling. I heard that. She's yelling at me that she is watching. So there you go. Well, you didn't comment. So there. All right. Oh, yeah. Berry Game Exchange on Sunday. Be there or don't. I'm ending the broadcast now.